Hi everybody, welcome back to Wineberry Hill. As many of you know, I pretty much do most of the work by myself. And so I have come to rely on a handful of tools and gear, sometimes on an hourly, certainly on a daily, and sometimes weekly or monthly basis. This is the stuff that just works, and it really makes it possible to get stuff done. And if you're interested or you're currently doing this type of work, well, this is a list of gear that, in my opinion, at least for me, makes me feel like a crew. And let's get started. Oh, hey guys. Let's get started with the first item on the list, and we'll go from least expensive to most expensive. First up, clamps. Now, clamps are not just for holding two pieces of wood together while the glue dries. Clamps are there to hold whatever you need in place. Is there a storm that just suddenly blew up and you're trying to get a tarp to cooperate? Boom, clamp the corners down. I was recently framing the chicken coop. I tilted up a wall and I need that wall to stay in place while I screw it. Well, boom, clamps. So clamps are great. They don't wander off. They don't complain about just standing there and doing that one thing you need them to do. So you can't have too many. You definitely want to have all kinds of shapes and sizes, C-clamp, pistol grip. You want long clamps. And I even include vice grips in that list. It's just indispensable for backyard projects. Okay, the next item on the list, come along and chains. All right, so a come along and chains. A come along, while not something I am going to be using on a daily or weekly basis, when I need to do something that's really difficult, maybe even impossible, well, this is the tool for the job. I can move really big logs, boulders. I've moved the old chicken coop with it. I moved my sauna with it. Those are things that I would have had to wait until I could organize enough friends to come over and help me do them. But with this amazing tool, a 2-ton come along and a bunch of chain, well, you can get the job done. I would recommend you have 2 of them. That way you can alternate as you're pulling something. Maybe you want to move a log from here to there. Well, when you have 2, you can alternate that process and keep it going in the right direction, especially if you're on an incline and you don't want that thing to start rolling back, etc. Okay, I think the next item on the list is going to have a big impact on you. This is not just a drill. This is a hammer drill. And a hammer drill makes all the difference when you're working by yourself. I don't know about you, but there have been so many times in my life where I'm trying to hold a piece of wood and I need to drive a long screw, maybe a 3.5 or 4-inch screw, and I'm trying to hold, maybe it's like overhead or whatever, and all of those things combined make it very difficult to get the screw to bite in, to go in, and hold the wood where it needs to be. Well, as the name implies, a hammer drill has a little hammer inside of it that is hammering on the backside of that screw. It forces the screw to bite into the wood quicker. And then you can get it to dig in, and that way you can just focus on not stabbing your hand with the screw gun, something I do probably on a weekly basis. Okay, next up, a pull cart. A pull cart. This particular tool is so critical to my weekly work. It makes it so that I don't have to do 10 trips between my truck and the project that I'm working on. If I'm moving bags of concrete, blocks, buckets of rabbit manure, I even can move long, stacks of lumber that are laid out on top of it. It makes my life so much easier. And specifically this configuration, meaning just a flat pull cart. I used to have sides for this that kept falling off and they were always in the way. I ended up just needing a flat surface that I could put things on, oversized things that I could put on this cart. Now, I do love wheelbarrows. I have a bunch, but this particular cart, well, she's not beautiful. She's seen some miles. She's got scrap plywood screwed to the top of her to make her a little better to put things on. Indispensable. All right, next up, a work surface. A work surface, and actually I recommend two types. I recommend a workbench, and maybe this is in your shop or your garage, like my mega workbench back there. It's a very large, oversized, extra tall workbench that I built from free materials, and I made a separate video about that. But that's a great place to do kind of, your heavy projects, and it will take a lot of weight. The other type of table is this temporary sort of folding table. I recommend something that's plastic. And the reason I think that these are great is because you can take them to where you are working if you can't bring the project to your workbench. So maybe you're on a location, or you're just in a part of your property that it would be nice if you could just set things a little higher. Make life easier, throw in a chair, and then you can actually place objects down, clamp them down. It's just such a useful thing to use on a backyard farm. Okay, so that gets us to the last item on the list. Actually, there's one other thing before we go over there. Bluetooth hearing protection. And by Bluetooth, I mean that you can listen to podcasts and music while you're working. These make my life so much better because I don't have to take them on and off. I can use a saw, use some kind of loud equipment, and I just keep on listening to my music or my audiobook or my podcast. So this also is a pretty useful tool that I feel like I should include in the mix. Okay, lastly, my favorite item that I use on a daily basis. My old work truck. Now, she isn't beautiful. She's about 20 years old. She's, showing some wear, but she's indispensable. She has an 8-foot bed, which in my opinion is the only size bed a truck should have. I could probably figure out how to make do with a 5 or a 6.5, but being able to load full sheets of plywood or sheetrock into the back, well, it's just that much better. When you add on the fact that there's a rack and I have the ability to move extra long lumber, well, it opens up a whole world of possibilities. I mentioned the table that I built. Well, the lumber that I used was from an old play set, and that lumber was very heavy and very long. Not a big deal. Some straps and put it on the roof, and I'm good to go. When I built the greenhouse, some of the beams were over 20 feet long and very heavy. Not a problem, just throw them on the roof of my truck. So there you have it. There is my list of tools that I feel like make it possible for me to work alone, by myself, not needing to wait around, call a friend to help me move something or hold something. These tools help me get it done. Now, I'm sure you probably have your own list, and I would love to hear it in the comments below. It'll hold the wall in place while I get it lined up correctly. Boom, boom, clamp, you're in business. Okay, that was just boom, boom. What am I, like, selling sham wow? Okay, let's try it again. You can use them. Recently I used I'm just yammering, I don't know, 10 or 15 people to come over and help me. Wait, maybe not that many, because it's not that heavy. And I probably should have thought this part out before I started talking. That thing that have been on my list because I was worried about, that freaked me out. A tarp just blew across the yard and it freaked me out because I thought there was like a creature running at me. I'm not nervous, you're nervous. All the magic happens in the impact part of the name, or hammer drill part of the name. Jeez, why is this so hard? You can't hear it. There you go, you can kind of hear it. That train and that bird, we call them laser beam birds. Little laser beam bird has a lot to say. Yeah, I hear ya. Please, if you can, comment and do all that YouTube stuff, liking, subscribing, hit the bell icon. It's what makes this channel able to survive and for me to be able to afford to be able to make these videos. Thank you so much for all of that. And if you like this video, well, you might like these.